What's up, guys? How's it going? And welcome to the Minute channel. Today we have a very special video here. Today we're going to be reviewing Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. This is a game that I've been looking forward to playing, but also talking about because it's a game that I hold really dear to my heart. It is one of my favorite spin-off games of the Persona franchise, and I'm just excited to talk about it. Shout out to Atlas for giving a review copy for this game, but let's go ahead and jump right into the video here today. Well, right off the bat, one of the things that we have to talk about is the story of the Persona Arena games. So I do want to clarify one thing here. When you buy Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, you actually get Arena, the original Arena game, included in the DLC there for the story. So be sure to select the correct one, because you can have to start with Persona 4 Arena and then move on to the Persona 4 Ultimax storyline and everything. So that way you can get the full experience. Otherwise, if you jump into the Ultimax story, that is the sequel to Arena. So it's a little bit confusing, and think they could have done a little bit better to explain this to newcomers, to people that are just starting the game. So I feel like they need to give you that hint right off the bat. So let's go ahead and talk about the story, as I mentioned before. So if you played Persona 4 Golden, then kind of the characters from here on. But yeah, Narukami, he's going back to Inaba for the summer to kind of spend time with friends and everything. And of course, everybody's just looking to party and have some fun, and in a very typical Persona fashion. Obviously that does not happen. Crazy things are going on, people disappearing again, and obviously the investigation team is kind of like, okay, well, we gotta find out what's going on again. And they jump back on the TV there, find out about the P1 Prix, which is a tournament in which all of these characters are gonna be fighting each other. Yes, all their friends are fighting each other, and of course, not only is this interesting because it's a dynamic that you kind of see. It's a situation when you see something like a Persona 4 game. Honestly, this is kind of one of those where I'm just like, okay, you know what? I can suspend my disbelief for a second, but it's actually pretty interesting and pretty neat to kind of see these characters again in a different, like a summer kind of action and everything. And of course, you get all the fighting and everything like that. So you get to see how powerful these characters are and everything. Now, I do want to say right off the bat too, this kind of game took me as a surprise, because not only do you get the sequel to Persona 4, but you also get a sequel to Persona 3, which is a game that I love a whole lot. And kind of seeing the characters from Persona 3 making a comeback in this game, I think that's a big selling price for this game. Not only for fans of Persona 4, but Persona 3, to kind of get this crossover of like the characters meeting each other, but actually being canon. They actually remember, and everything, and it does bring such a big joy to see a story from like the perspective of Persona 3 characters, and what happened after the events of Persona 3, and Persona 4 characters, and what happened after the events of Persona 4, and the dancing game and everything. So this game, story-wise, I don't know. I really just want to say this is probably the most fan services story that you can possibly imagine, and I mean it's a good light. It does have the most fan service interaction in the history of like Persona stuff. It's super full of fan service. You get all these fun moments with Persona characters kind of talking to each other, all the funny moments that you will imagine from different characters on Persona 4 and Persona 3 kind of talking and everything. And not only that, but it does it in such a good light that it does portray the characters to feel like an extension of the original games, so it doesn't feel like cheap or anything like that. Like they're not just going out with nostalgia. It does feel like it is kind of trying to tell a story and everything. Now, unfortunately, the way that they do the story in this game is kind of really awkward. If you played any of the Arc System games, you kind of know the style of the storytelling, but it basically takes the style of like a light novel, but it does it for every single character. So they go by scenarios. Scenario 1 being like Narukami, and then a scenario 1B, which is like another character, and then scenario 1C, and basically every single character has kind of the beginning, but from their perspective. And in order for you to kind of get the full story, you have to play every single character's scenario, which can be cool, but it can also be really tedious, because a lot of scenarios kind of go together with each other, and a lot of them actually conflict in like the timeline and everything. So it's kind of hard to actually tell like what is happening, because sometimes like a character fought another character, it turns out that this character, you know, like he actually did something else during that time and everything. It's really conflicted. It's actually kind of confusing, the way that they did the storytelling here. I rather if they had done just the typical, you know, like, oh, okay, like perspective of one character and everything, but actually seeing the perspective of every single character, it's kind of cool because you get to hear the inner thoughts of Yuna Okami, you know, the main protagonist that you never kind of hear anything from him. You actually hear a lot of personality from him as far as like what his thoughts are about what's going on, how he goes about you know, solving the mystery of what's going on and everything. And this does such a good job of portraying him as an actual character opposed to like a blank slate on the Persona 4 games or something. So it does such a good job with Yuna Okami. The rest of the cast is pretty cool as well, but again, storytelling, the way that he does it, I think some of you may even get tired of like seeing the same scenarios over and over again, just with different characters' perspectives and everything. But overall, I think it's a really fun story. It does have like that Persona charm. Like, again, if you're a fan, you're gonna love this because it just screams fan service. You know, this is doing it for the fans, kind of trying to give you the fun and everything. So overall, fun story, not so good, you know, not super good or anything, although it does have some really crazy plot twist, especially in Ultimax. The second part of the story, it does get insane, but again, it is one of those Persona storylines you're like, yeah, this is a Persona game, although it is a fighting game as well. But let's go ahead and talk about the fighting, because obviously as a Persona fighting game, I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people are interested on. Let's talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay of this game is obviously a fighting game, as you can see, and it's a really good fighting game. In fact, back in 2012 to like the late 2000s, it became a really popular fighting game between the fighting community, which is kind of crazy because you're thinking of this, like I mentioned before, this really fan servicey game. A lot of people like it because of how fan service is, but the gameplay itself is super tight. Arc Systems did such a good job making every character feel unique. It actually applies the mechanics of using a persona while fighting, which is kind of really confusing to do, but they did it in such a smooth way. Every character feels unique, whether you're playing with Yukiko or you or Yosuke or whoever. Every single character has its own flavor of like, yes, this is kind of the kind of character supposed to act and fight and everything, and it just feels super smooth. Although there is kind of like, I would say, like a gate of like how good you should get to play competitively, at least playing online and everything. I suck at this game. Even when I was playing online with a very few people that were online at this time, it's a really tough game. I recommend you practicing through the story and everything, because if you want to get good at this game, it's really gonna have to, you actually have to practice to get good at everything. This is not one of those button smashers, so you can just button smash your way through and everything. You do kind of have to get good at it if you're interested on kind of like going online and fighting some matches or going on tournaments and everything. And yes, you heard me right, tournaments. This game had a ton of tournaments back in the day, and I truthfully believe that this is gonna be the case moving forward. I really feel like this is gonna be the case moving forward. People are gonna be playing this game in tournaments, and like back in the day, it was such a good popular fighting game. So now, that being said, I do want to mention one thing, because I did play online quite a bit. There was a couple of hitches here and there, but nothing big. I think one time the game just kind of crashed on us. I was playing with Spencer, and shout out to Spencer from his channel. Yeah, we just kind of were playing, and he just kind of crashed in the middle of us playing. I think it only happened one time though, but it's still kind of worth mentioning. And the biggest thing is there is no netcode at this time, so you're still going on to kind of like the peer-to-peer scenario thing. But now they did say that they're going to add netcode, but at this time rollback is not actually implemented in the game yet. So I cannot talk as far as like how the online is going or anything like that. Based on my experience, it was pretty smooth. Like, I played quite a bit with Spencer and some of the other guys that were online, but I cannot tell you exactly like, but as far as what I can tell, I have good internet. I didn't have any issues. I thought it was fine. But then again, I don't play competitively or anything like that, so it won't really affect me in that regard. But really good fighting game, but it's also tough to kind of get into if you're not really into fighting games. So this is kind of one of those things where you're gonna have to pick and choose whether, okay, I'm just gonna kind of want to play the story, or I want to play the story and get good at the game. So that's two separate deals altogether, and I think it does such a good job at actually doing both. Give fun story and really engaging gameplay. So it does have a full package here. And kind of like last but not least is gonna talk about things like how the game looks and everything. This is a remaster, a port that they're doing over to PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC, and honestly it looks good. I think it's a really good looking game for like what you get and everything. Obviously it's not like high graphics or anything like that. It's all 2D sprites and everything, so nothing in that regard. The music is fantastic, although I did hear that Alice actually lost some of their music due to copyright, which it does happen from time to time. You know, it's a over 10 years old game, right? So I think they actually lost some of those songs which didn't make a comeback. But overall the soundtrack is really good. They did such a good job with the soundtrack. Every character has its own track as well, so if you go look for the OST, it's like massive. It just has so many songs there and everything, and it's really cool. I think that's one of the coolest ideas for like a soundtrack and everything. And yeah, one thing, just kind of one little thing here before we kind of wrap this up and everything. The opening of this game, for it has it's really pixelated, so I don't know if they like actually try to like make it HD or something. But if they try to make it HD, it doesn't look HD. It looks kind of bad in that regard. So not particularly sure what the deal was with that, but I just kind of feel like I will mention that. But overall, I want to say this is a fantastic game. If you're into fighting games or if you're into Persona, definitely a game to check out. I think the $30 price is nice because it is 2 games in one, and I think that's one thing that some people were not realizing. You're getting Arena and Ultimax. That's 2 separate games that you cannot get in the price of one and everything. The newest version of this game, because if you guys didn't know, like I mentioned before, this game continued to be competitively for some time, and it got a lot of updates, especially through the arcade version. And it looks like this new version of the game is actually a combination between the old one and the arcade version. I think it's called Golden. So it is kind of like a more modern version. So it's not just the old game. They actually went back and kind of updated it to the new standards and everything. So in that regard, it's actually pretty cool. Overall, I just want to say, if you're interested in this game, check it out. I think it is like my second favorite spin-off games on the Persona series. They did such an amazing job, and I'm really hoping that this sells well enough that Atlus says that we do want a Persona 5 Arena or something like that, because that'll be such of my dream. Like I will definitely want to check that out again if we could ever see it again. But anyway, that is pretty much it for today, guys. Thank you so much for staying through all this review here today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this game. If you already played it or you already bought it, tell me, do you have any memories? Who are you gonna main for this game? Are you excited to play with any characters or any returning characters? Thank you so much for watching this, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye. But before we end this video, I want to thank all the members: Miko, Another Fox, Demicro, H2DK, King Narukami 45, Ethan McNeil, and Rising Oyoblin. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. I couldn't make these videos without your help.